babes, welcome to my channel. I'm Maria, aka Agape Love Girl. Thank you so much for joining me today. I did get this really awesome PR package from CoverGirl of their new royalty collection. I'm going to talk more about it and everything a little bit later in the video. I'm going to show you everything that was in this package. We are going to do a little giveaway, so stay tuned for that. But before I get into all the details and everything, I do want to use a few of the products and do a little demo. I just want you to be able to see some of the products in action and then talk about my first impressions, thoughts of them after creating a look, and then I will, show you the rest of the products up close, do some swatches. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the demo. To start off, I'm going to be priming my eyes with the e.l.f. Camo Concealer in the shade Light Peach. Then I'm going to go into the Revolution palette. I'll be taking the shade Get It with a big fluffy blending brush and putting that into my crease and kind of winging the shadow out a bit. This will be the only shadow I use from this palette since the other palette I'm going to be using doesn't have any matte shades. Now going into the Rain palette, I'll be taking the shade Forever Yours on a smaller blending brush and just placing that under the first matte shade I laid down. Next, going into the shade Monarch Magic, I'll be placing that onto the inner third of my eyelid. Then I'm going to be using the CoverGirl Exhibitionist Liquid Glitter Shadow in the shade number 3, which is a beautiful silver glitter with some blue sparkle to it. I'll be applying this right over top where I placed Monarch Magic. Now this does have a doe foot applicator, but for a more precise placement, I'm going to go ahead and use a brush. Then going back into the Rain palette, I'm going to take the shade High Life and apply that to the center of my lid, blending it forward into the silver I already have laid down. And then going back in with the shade Forever Yours, I'll just add a touch more of that to the outer corner to blend in with the blue shade and create a nice gradient. And I wanted to pause here for a moment to show you the fallout I've gotten from these shadows. And this doesn't really bother me that much. It's really not that unusual, especially when you are blending with more metallic type shadows. But I do recommend that you do your eyes first, or if you've already got your base done, apply a bit of powder to catch any fallout. Next, I did add a winged liner using the IT Cosmetics Superhero Liner. Then back into the shade High Life for my lower lash line, focusing that mostly onto the center. And applying Forever Yours to the outer portion, and a bit more of that liquid glitter for the inner corner, basically mimicking what's on my eyelids. Now here's the look complete with just mascara. I will be applying false lashes, but I wanted to show you how everything was looking with just mascara for those who don't wear falsies. Still such a beautiful look. And here is the completed look with falsies applied. I did use my favorites, the Pure Cosmetics Bombshell Lashes. And for anybody curious, I did use the Ardell Beauty Gel Liner in the shade Royal Purple for my waterline. And on my lips, I'm wearing the Urban Decay Vice Lipstick in the shade Back Talk. I really hope you guys enjoyed this look and how everything turned out and be able to see some of the products in action. Yeah, with that, let's go ahead and get into this package, everything that I received, and some swatches. Now you guys saw me using 2 of the palettes from this collection. The palettes that I used were Rain. I used that one the most, and then I used a Revelation. And I picked these 2 palettes to keep because, well, for one, Revolution has a lot more of those warm tones that I personally love. It also has several mattes, and so I knew for sure this would be one I wanted to keep, that one I wanted to, use. And then Revolution does not have any mattes, and this is kind of like, I feel like it definitely leans a lot more cooler tone, but there are some warmer tones in here, and it just looked like the one I was most interested in aside from the Revolution palette. So that's why I decided to keep this one. Then this is third palette that is different. This is another one that I'm going to keep. It's a little bit different than the rest of them. This one is the True Naked Queenship palette. It's a little bit smaller, and interestingly enough, I feel like this one looks the most similar to Rain. Actually, it's like a smaller, more compact version, but very, very similar. Anyways, I thought about giving this one away too, but in my excitement when I first got it, I opened it up and touched it, swatched it, so I was like, oh well. So I'm excited to keep it though and play around with it, and hopefully be able to update you guys in next month's Beauty Rewind video of more of my full thoughts and a review after using them a little bit longer, because right now all I'm going to be able to do is give you guys first impressions. Now the two palettes that I'm going to be giving away are Overthrown and Ascension, and I did open these up, but I did not touch them, so hopefully you guys are okay with that. I just want to be able to show them to you, and I also wanted to be able to look at them myself to decide, you know, what I wanted to keep. So they had like a little tape right here that I just removed, but that's it. Other than that, these are still fresh and I have not touched them, and I will show them to you guys up close. But this one is Overthrown, and this one has a lot more of those kind of more grungy, darker tones, and I think it's pretty, but just not one that I was super attracted to, and knew I probably wouldn't get much use out of it. So this is one that I decided I would give away. But I have to say that the shades Alter Ego, Never Again, and Wreckage they look beautiful. So I think you can definitely create beautiful looks with this, but I just don't imagine myself reaching for it a ton. So that is one that I'm going to be giving away. And then Ascension is a lot more of a very pale, very cooler, very pastel kind of a palette. This one has a lot more mattes in it, and it looks really, really beautiful, but I just know myself personally, this would absolutely, above all the rest of the palettes, be a palette that I probably don't use at all. None of these colors look like colors that I would really gravitate towards. Maybe if I had to choose one that I thought was the best in this palette, it would be Fantasy. But other than that, this palette to me personally seems very, very boring. And also, like I've said before in other videos, I don't think pastels really look that great on me. So I knew instantly when I saw this palette that I would give it away. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and swatch the ones that I am keeping. And I'm just going to try to swatch them really quickly, but I'm going to do it kind of live here with you. So these do have names on the back right here. When you peel back this part of it, it does have the names. Originally I didn't realize it had names, but it does. So I'm going to go into Heiress, Boundless, Regime, and then Caviar first. So here's what these are looking like, and goodness gracious, they are so very creamy and so very pigmented. Alright, next up I'm going to be going into Sworn, Elizabeth, Heirloom, sorry my finger's in the way, and Generations. So here's what those are looking like. Ooh, really, really beautiful. So let's swatch these. Lots of pigmentation. Very, very creamy. They feel wonderful. Now going into the Revolution palette. So I'm going to be going into Brazen, Get It, Showdown, and One Day. Alright, so once again you are seeing Brazen, Get It, Showdown, and Day One. I think I said one day earlier, but it's Day One. Day One is actually stunning. Really like the look of Showdown in the palette, but it didn't swatch as well. These ones definitely didn't swatch as well as the smaller palette. But having used this matte shade in my crease, Get It, I know that it still performs pretty well, so I'm not super mad at it. Alright, now I'm going to go into Commotion, Legend, Exposed, and Ruthless. Okay, these ones swatched a bit better, so maybe my hand wasn't quite dry enough for the last swatches, so I apologize. But anyways, these are really, really pretty. Oh my goodness. Okay, so next up I'm going to go into Secret Password, Soot and Sparkle, Bear It All, and Dare. Alright, and these didn't swatch as great either, so maybe it wasn't just that my hand wasn't, or my hand wasn't dry enough. But anyways, these are Secret Password, Soot and Sparkle, Bear It All, and Dare. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the Rain palette, the gold palette. This one is all metallics, and we're gonna go in first with Dignified, Moneymaker, Crowned, and Next of Kin. So these ones again are Dignified, Moneymaker, Crowned, and Next of Kin. All right, now I'm gonna go into Forever Yours, Prerogative, Lavish, and Good For You. And interestingly enough, Forever Yours didn't really swatch too well, but that is one of the ones I used on my eyes today, so I'm glad you guys got to see it in action. And clearly you probably all know by now, but swatches don't always tell the full story. Sometimes they can swatch amazingly and perform poorly on the eyes. Sometimes they can swatch terribly and perform wonderfully on the eyes. I would say that this one didn't perform like amazingly on the eyes, but it wasn't bad or hard to work with either. So it was still good, but the swatch, not so much. All right, and lastly, we're gonna go into Power Trip, Monarch Magic, High Life, and Spellbound. Ooh, that blue. All right, so as for these bigger palettes, upon first impressions, when I first got the package in the mail and seeing these larger palettes, I thought they looked so beautiful. I love how each one is a little bit different and has a different kind of a theme, and the outside of them is really beautiful. They do have like names and colors and stuff like that on the back, but I will say that when I opened it up and saw the way it looked on the inside, I was a little less impressed, because this is such a larger palette, and to have these shades like be so small and not really taking up as much space, it just seems like so much wasted space, so I wasn't really loving that. I do like how they have the little inside decoration and they do have the names on here, but I definitely think they could have either made these palettes a little bit smaller or utilized more of this space. The other weird thing about it, and I don't really understand it, because to me there doesn't seem to be any really rhyme or reason for it, but there are 4 shades in here that are skinny small pans, so 2 here on the bottom and then 2 here on the top, and the rest of them are these like larger pan sizes, and I just find that really weird. I don't understand why they did that, so that's a little bit weird to me. So I don't necessarily love the layout of the inside of this. This was like surprising and not in the best way. But that being said, aside from the aesthetic of it and things like that, my first impressions of these are pretty good. I'm fairly impressed. I wouldn't say I'm overwhelmed and think they're like, oh my god, so amazing, but from doing this look today, I actually had no issues whatsoever using these shadows. They were really very pigmented, blended really easy. I will say they are very soft, so there is a lot of fallout as well, and I'll have a little close-up to show you. But in my Revolution palette, the shade that I used here, Get It, the matte one, it's already got a pretty good size divot inside there, and when I swirl my brush in it and even just tapping on it, so much kick up and so much gets on the brush. It's kind of almost like Subculture like. So they are very soft, but the upside to that is they're really easy to work with. You get a lot of color payoff and pigmentation. They blend beautifully, and so I don't necessarily mind it, but I feel like, because considering how deep the divot is and I barely have to touch it, look at all that, is that you could go through these fairly quickly. So I would just say, obviously, be very careful. You really don't barely need to touch. Even if you're barely touching, you're gonna get that kick up and a lot picked up. And then even right here, these are just so soft, even the metallic shades. I accidentally gouged into that. I'm not even sure how that happened, but there's a pretty big gouge in there, and just such a soft shadow. So I'm not necessarily opposed to soft shadows. It's just something to know and to be careful of, so you don't go through these too quickly. and use them properly. And like I said, because they are so soft, you will get a lot of fallout, but again, that doesn't necessarily bother me very much, as long as the shadows actually perform. And these shadows definitely do perform very well. I did not use an eyeshadow primer, but I did use a concealer over my lids, and even applying shadows over top of each other, they still applied very creamy, very, very pigmented. And I say that because it's worth noting, because sometimes there's other shadows that are a lot more dry, and that like when you have a few shadows already down on your lid and you go to put another shadow on top of those other shadows, it just doesn't stick. That's when, you know, you need a setting spray, you need to apply down something sticky, or, you know, additional primer to help get the color to stick on top of the other shades. But these had no issues. So these shadows did not need any help whatsoever to apply, adhere to my lid and blend and just look really, really vibrant and beautiful. So I'm actually really, really impressed with the quality of these shadows, and really have no like issues or at the moment anything bad to say about them. And then the one other thing, and this is not necessarily about the quality, is that I do find the color story in these a little bit strange. Like, they don't quite make sense to me. I mean, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I think it's kind of neat in a way, but also like they don't quite make sense to me. Like, if you look at this palette, you see a lot of warm tones, and then you have this like random pop of blue, and it's like, where does that come from? And when I look at these palettes, I mean, of course, like, I received them, and I'm in PR, got them for free, and I'm choosing to keep these two because I do like them. But if I were personally me looking at them in store to buy, I don't think there's necessarily any one of these palettes specifically color story wise that really scream to me, that really says like, oh my gosh, I really need that, or I would really, really want that. And that's just me personally. There's nothing against these or the quality or anything. It's just that I look at them and I'm like, nothing is super like grabbing my attention. Maybe it's because I already have so many other shadows in my collection that these just nothing really stand out to me. You may feel totally different, but I'm just kind of sharing my first impressions and my thoughts. But again, that does not take away from the quality, which I do think is really wonderful. And then also the other thing that is interesting is like, but two of them have only metallics within them. Like, this one is all metallics. There's literally no mattes in this. And then two of the palettes have a mix of mattes and metallics. And so I find that like, that's kind of strange. That could be a good thing or a bad thing depending on, you know, what your collection looks like. If you already have a lot of mattes and your basic mattes and palettes and things that you reach for all the time, and you're just looking for more metallic shades, then hey, some of these palettes you might, you know, find more interesting because they don't have mattes that you already have in your collection. It's just pretty shimmery colors or metallic colors. I kind of think that's all I have to really say about my first impressions. I didn't mention this, but it does have a really nice mirror in here. And I do think that overall the quality of these is really, really nice. $15. What do I think about that price? I think it's an okay price. I know that like the Milani palettes are around that price range. They're $15 to $20 depending on where you buy them. So I think that's becoming kind of normal for the drugstore. So it's not a terrible price, but I kind of feel like these should be just $10. But I think like considering everything, the detail they put into these palettes and stuff like that, the mirror, $15 actually is not that bad. Aside from that, I think I'm pretty impressed with these. I think the quality is really nice, and so it's really just up to you if you want to pick any up. If any of them call out to you and you feel like you need them in your collection, or just have been looking for something similar, then you would probably really enjoy these. But again, I definitely need to keep playing with them. These are my first impressions, and so thoughts and opinions might change. So stay tuned to next month's Beauty Rewind for the full update. All right, next up, I got these True Naked Queenship Cream Shadow Sticks, available exclusively at Ulta.com on May 15th. So these are already available. So I just looked them up real quick, and they are $9.99 at Ulta. Available now. There are 8 shades available. Now, I'm not gonna open them up and show them all to you. I'll just kind of show the bottom here. We have a couple really, really neutral shades. So 3 of them are matte, and 5 of them are metallic from what I can tell on the bottom here. I'm not opening them up just because I don't really care to keep these, and I'm probably going to put most of these in the giveaway. But first I'm actually going to ask my daughter if maybe she wants one or a couple of these. I'm thinking of her for a reason, and I'll get to that in a minute. First, let me grab this one. I didn't use one of these in today's demo, as you probably noticed, and the reason why was because I did try to use it when I first got this package, and I didn't like it, but not because I don't think that other people wouldn't like it. I just, for me personally, I didn't really care for it. So here's what they look like. I used the one that's 900. It's a matte shade, and it's just like a kind of a beige creamy color, and I'll swatch that one for you. It swatches on really, really nice. They are very nice and creamy. So and you can kind of like blend them out, but it does dry down very, very quickly. And let me tell you, when it dries down, it does not budge. Like, these are like waterproof, I'm pretty sure, and budge proof. And I actually used it on my eyes because I was really interested in it, and I was like, okay, something I could put on my eyes to kind of cancel out the, you know, the dark circles, the darkness on my eyes when using shadows. So I did it when I was just practicing some looks. Well, after my first look, I went to wipe it off, and literally I could not get it off. This is a good thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, for me, I was like, I'm not happy that I can't get this off my eye, and like, it was really, really tough. So I think for that, it's probably a really good product, especially for those of you who maybe have possibly oily lids or trouble with transfer and things like that. This could be a really great kind of base to use to really keep your you know, your eyeshadows and your look intact, and not moving, not budging until the evening. When you're ready to take your makeup off, and even then you might even have a little bit of trouble taking it off. I think that probably the only way to get it off would be an oil-based makeup remover to help, but for me, I was just using a makeup wipe, and I was like, nothing's coming off, so I had to actually go to my bathroom, get some makeup remover, and take it off. But yeah, these do not budge, and so for that, I don't really care for it. But the big reason for that I don't care for is because I have drier eyelids, and I just felt like I didn't like that for my dry eyelids. And so the reason why I feel like I'm gonna ask my daughter if she wants these is because she has more oily eyelids, and so I feel like she might enjoy these. She doesn't wear eyeshadow all that often, mostly just when she's playing in makeup. She is 16 years old, but anyway, so I just thought maybe she might like these, so I'm gonna give her this one for sure, and then might let her pick out another color or something like that. But for the most part, most of these will be going in the giveaway because I just don't think I will use them. And that's just a personal preference, but other than that, these are probably going to be really, really great for someone who needs that kind of a thing for their eyeshadow. So the last items in the box were the Exhibitionist liquid glitter shadows. As you can probably guess and tell, these definitely look like dupes for the Stila Glitter and Glow liquid glitter shadows. There are 8 that I received. I'm only going to be keeping 4 of them. I will show all of them to you so you can see the colors, but I don't want to get them mixed up and forget which ones I'm keeping, so I'm going to show you these ones first. These are the ones that I'm going to be keeping. These do not have names, they just have numbers, and so I'm going to be keeping the shade number 2, number 3, number 7, and number 8, and I will swatch them for you real quick. So the glitter shadow number 2 is kind of like a rose gold or like champagne type of color. And I'll swatch them like this, and then I'll go ahead and zoom in for you guys. So that's number 2, really, really pretty. So far, I'm liking the way these look, and I find them easy. They do have a very nice doe foot applicator, but I'll have to test them a little bit longer to really see what I think. But I tried to look up the price on these because this one says they're going to be available for pre-order on Amazon in the nationwide July of 2019. But when I try to look it up on Amazon, the price for, depending on the color, was different. So some of them were like 11 something, some of them were like 7, some were like 9. So I don't really know what the deal was with that is. I was looking on my phone, so I'm gonna have to wait till I get on the computer. And again, like I said, all the information will be in the description box. So number 3 is the one that I used on my eyes today. It's a really pretty silver shade. Then number 7 is kind of like, it has silver glitter in it, but it's like a purpley, dark toned glitter. And so you'll notice that the shades I'm keeping are actually shades that are a little bit more out of my comfort zone, with the exception of number 2 over here is totally a me shade, but the rest of them are going to be like shockingly not necessarily me. But the reason why I want to keep these is because I pretty much have all kinds of other glitters similar to this from like Pixie Beauty, their Fairy Lights, to the Flower Beauty Warrior Glitter Shadows, to even other glitters from like NBA Cosmetics. And I even have a Stila glitter myself too. And all of them are, you know, I have the other shades pretty much similar to the ones I'm going to be giving away. So I decided to keep the ones that I don't have anything like them in my collection. And they're not necessarily super me kind of shades, but I want to have, you know, something to use that's different. And so anyway, so the last one I'm keeping, number 8, is more of a black kind of base or gray base with the silver glitter in it. So a lot more cooler toned shades that I'm keeping, but I'm really excited about having these and just having something that's a little bit different than I already have in my collection. So here's a closer look at them. They're really, really pretty. First impressions of these are, I like them a lot. They don't seem that different from the Stila Glitter and Glow formula, or very different from some of the other ones I've tried. They're really beautiful. But anyways, up here you're gonna see number 2, number 3, number 7, and number 8. Alright, and here's a closer look at the ones I'm going to be giving away. I'm not going to be swatching these, but here's a closer look at them just so you guys can see. So these ones are 1, 4, 5, and 6. And these actually look so beautiful. I'm actually really compelled to keep these, but I decided, like I said, I already have very similar glitter shades like this, even liquid glitter shades to this in my collection, so there's no reason for me to keep these. I definitely want to gift these to somebody, but they are really beautiful. So I hope somebody else enjoys them. Alright, so that is everything in the new CoverGirl Royalty collection that I received, and my first impressions thought of each product. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, seeing these products and hearing my thoughts and seeing some of them in action. If you'd like to see more looks or content created with these items, please let me know which shades you'd like to see me use specifically, or which of the palettes that I'm keeping you'd like to see me use in the future, because that really helps me know what kind of content you guys actually want to see. And now for the giveaway, you guys already saw the products that I'm going to be giving away. I'm going to do one giveaway winner, so one lucky person will receive the 2 palettes, almost all of the cream shadows, and 4 of the liquid glitters. So I'm really excited to be able to give those away to one lucky person. The giveaway will be very easy. It's going to be through a Rafflecopter widget. That link will be in the description box. So anyways, if you would like to win those products, check the description box for that Rafflecopter link, and good luck to you. And with all that being said, I just want to thank you so much for watching, and until next time, much love and hugs to you. Bye, beauty babes. Mwah!